This is one of the most fascinating breeds of poultry in the world. Don't you think that's absolutely glorious that you can get this wonderful sort of pom-pom crest on the head of the bird, in this case, black body and white head. Now, these are known as Polish Chooks. Now, they don't come from Poland, and for that matter, Hamburg Chooks don't come from Hamburg either. It's thought that the name Polish may come from the fact that the word Pole means the top of the head. And presumably what it did was to refer to the fact that there's something interesting happening on top of the head. But there you are, Polish Chooks, beautiful crest. They don't see too well because their head's in there somewhere, but they are the subject of tonight's road test. What's a Polish Chook, Peter?
Well, Polish Chook basically is a chook with a huge hat of feathers on its head. Their history goes way back. They are one of the oldest poultry breeds. They draw a lot of unusual comments from the general public. They're often referred to as punk chooks or frizzy heads, and they have created quite an interest in the show arena.
Now, the thing with the better crested ones particularly is that their vision is pretty much impaired.
Yes, their crest has to be cut back off the eyes if they're not being shown so that they can locate their feed and their water containers. There are four main colours available in Australia. There is the white crested black with a white head and the black body, the white crested blue with a white head and the blue body, the self-white, a straight white, and a straight black.
I notice you've got a hybrid one of your own there.
There's the frizzled one with the curly feathers. Looks a little bit like they've put their beak in an electric socket and the wind has changed. They're a creation that we put together over the last 4 years, mainly because my wife likes the frizzled breed, and I thought, well, it would be nice to create a frizzlised Polish. Even though they come under the breed name Polish or Poland, there are in fact two types. There's the non-bearded type, which are called crested. They have the white head and a coloured body. The other ones are actually known as Paduan on the continent. They're known as Paduan or Padavinian fowl, and they are slightly different because you never breed the two together.
They have a big bony lump on the top of their skull.
Yes.
And sometimes, as with sort of newborn babies in human beings, it doesn't fully close up.
Yes. The skull is unusual. The only problem with Polish is there is what's called a cerebral hernia associated with the breed, but that only happens very rarely.
So cerebral hernia meaning that some of the brains actually come out into the lump on top of the head.
They can if a lump of timber hits the birds on the head, or there's pressure built up like a kind of a hydrocephalus where the water content in the brain builds up, and they can have a hernia as a result through those apertures in the skull.
These animals may look a little bit different, but at the end of the day, they're a chicken like every other one. So you need to look after them properly. You need to worm them, you need to treat them for coccidiosis, you need to vaccinate them. They also need good food and good nutrition. And as mentioned earlier, they also suffer from cerebral hernia, and they also have problems with peripheral vision.
If you just want backyard eggs, you wouldn't get one of these.
No, well, not really. No. You'd best get a crossbred if you want an egg-laying breed to give you lots of eggs for the home.
The eggs are a standard white egg.
Yes, they're not big. They're a very longish egg. In some cases, they look a bit like a torpedo.
Any particular feeding other than the grass?
Basically, household scraps is the easy way, is the cheap way. An 18% layers pellet, keep the protein up to them, and wheat is always good to throw into the pen. That's a bit like ice cream for chooks.
What's the correct sort of person to own these birds?
Birds that have a very heavy crest obviously require more care, and I wouldn't recommend the heavily crested birds to most people. However, we breed a number of birds that have a smaller crest, a tighter crest, and they can see a lot better. Those birds do fine.